And good evening, Commanders, and welcome to the Elite Dangerous Law Tour extended expedition to the Formidine Rift. So, welcome all, welcome all. Thank you all for turning up again. We are out in the black, a long way from home already. I think about 1,000 light years away, something like that. So we are a fair distance away from the core worlds already. We've come a long way. But there's a lot of us out here. Okay, this is really good. So fantastic stuff. So Edinburgh, good evening, everybody. How has the week been so far? It's really hot. I must admit, I should have come on with a little bit of some of that makeup stuff because it's incredibly warm here in the UK. Well, by UK standards, it's well. I've got my thermometer. Look, it says 27.1 degrees in this room at the moment, which is a bit warm. Definitely need a heat sink. So it's a bit insane. But yeah, dear. Never mind. It's been a hot day, so I hope you're not too frazzled because it's definitely warm. And I'm hoping my PC doesn't melt this evening, actually, with all the stuff that's going on. But never mind. We are here. We are live online. Everything's working so far. So let's go and see. So where are we? Most importantly, well, we are in the the fascinatingly named S17118 system. I've no idea whether that's a real name or not, but that's where we are tonight. We are about halfway across the galactic chart to the entrance of the Formidine Rift. We haven't even got to the Formidine Rift yet, but we are on our way in the right direction. So that's where we're heading. So hopefully there will be opportunities to wing up and do other bits and pieces and things in this system. So we'll crack on with that. Now, so back to the ship. Where are we? Well, I'm on the surface of a moon somewhere. I can't remember where I parked. So that's the first thing to identify. And there are a lot of fleet carriers here this evening, so I think we should go and tour some of those as well. Make sure we get them all on screen because it's nice to see the fleet. We've come out. I feel like this is Battlestar Galactica, actually. So anyway, I'm on the surface of a moon right now, and I'm just noticing my hat's a bit transparent. Let me just fix that. For those of you who've been following my antics, I've moved my entire rig into a new study, which I've been building up all this week. So it may have a few little glitches as a result because I've tested most stuff, but I haven't tested everything as well as I'd like. So let me just adjust my just adjust that a tiny bit, not that much, probably about not quite there. That'll do. There we go. That's all right. So anyway, so my hair's always translucent though. and the other time I was streaming, I suddenly realised I'd put on a green T-shirt, which doesn't help when you're using a green screen. There you go. So yeah, so no, the hat stays. Okay, the hat stays. It's part of the uniform, isn't it? So I can't not have the hat. So right. So first things first. I was going to say it does feel a little bit Battlestar Galactica. This we seem to have a ragtag fugitive fleet that has fled the core worlds in favour of sorts of things. So look at the system map for S171 18, and we have almost as many fleet carriers with actually planets in the system. Translucent, it's yeah. There we go. So I haven't quite got my green screen sorted out right, but yeah, it's close enough. So so what have we got? So this is the system. Now I chose this system because it's in the middle of the NGC 7822 nebula, okay, which is actually a real place. If you want to look it up on on Wikipedia, it's a real nebula out there in the darkness of space. It's one thing that's really cool about Elite Dangerous, of course, is it's got a lot of real things in it, which is nice. And we're in this system. Lots of landable planets, nice big bright white star, and a bunch of fleet carriers. We have the Tyrian Dawn, so I'm going to go through the names of these. We should go and pay a visit to them, I think. The Tyrian Dawn. We have the Guru Meditation, which has been with us since the beginning. We have the Eye of the Moon. Now, the Eye of the Moon, I'm hoping, I don't know if the owner of the Eye of the Moon is on the stream, but I'm hoping that's a reference to the Lords of Midnight and Doomdark's Revenge and Mike Singleton, because that would be very cool. That's a sort of Inception thing, given that I wrote the official Elite Dangerous novels, and I've also written the official novelization of Lords of Midnight. Eye of the Moon is I think the third book. Aradaga says it's mine. Excellent. So is it a familiar name? Is it from Mike Singleton's? Is it from Mike Singleton's works? So that's the question we need to know. Because if it is, that's very cool. So that's awesome. It sure is. Excellent. So there we are. We have a homage to Mike Singleton in the S17118 system. That's very cool. So I really appreciate that, Aradagus. Thank you very much for bringing your fine show. I'm definitely going to go there. Okay, we need to go and pay homage to that. So that's awesome. Then we have the Red Inn. Commander Bartas. Oh, that's a good idea, putting your name in the soup name. Cunning. We have the CRV Nightwish. That's another good name. I like that. We have the Remember Salomé, so we should definitely go there. Contents may differ. Good names for ships, some of these. The Tanne Law. Now that is Michael Moorcock reference, of course. So we've got two fantasy authors in the homage tonight. So that's important as well. And the DSSA Morning Star. We have the Emperor's Revenge, obviously. So that's good. We have the Metamorph SQ11. Okay. That's cool too. And we have the Absolution, but the Absolution has been here right from the start as well. So it's fantastic to have a massive fleet of fleet carriers. I think, how many is that? Is that 10? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 fleet carriers. As many ships. So there we go. So I'm going to, just because it's there, I think the Eye of the Moon, I need to rendezvous with the Eye of the Moon first. So I'm going to set course. So if you'd like to try and join me, instancing permitting, let's first go to the Eye of the Moon, shall we? Because, yeah, Mike Singleton. Who I'll explain who he is on the way, for those of you who don't know. So I'm on the surface of a planet. I do have a free wing slot. Who am I going to invite? Now, actually, in my wing, you'll notice I've got White Wyvern and James Biggles. Now, those are actually my sons who I've purloined to come along this quest and get a bit of cash for doing their exploration. So they're, say hello to them. White Wyvern is my son Josh, and Mr. James Biggles is my son Mark. So, but I've got one more space. So who might I guess just randomly choose somebody and see if we can. Commander Anna Claire. There we go. If you answer that, then you can jump in a wing with us and we'll see who else we can wing in along the way. So let's go to the Eye of the Moon. Let's go to the Eye of the Moon and let's see how that works. So remember my settings. And we take off. Let's have a bit of sound so I can hear what's going on. So I don't know how many of us are out here, but I've certainly seen quite a lot of... there we go. We've got Anna Claire in our wing for the time being, so that's awesome. So now, where is the fleet carrier? Is it going to be above the horizon? Because this never normally happens to me. I've parked on this lovely pink. It is. Look at that. It's actually above the horizon. So the Eye of the Moon, the Eye of the Moon. So let's head there. Now, for those of you who don't know, I mean, I've talked about this a number of times. Okay. In terms of lore and background and story and everything to Elite Dangerous. But you all know by now, I hope, that Elite Dangerous is based on a game from 1984 that was simply called Elite. Okay, written by David Braben and Ian Bell. David Braben obviously is still a major figure in the computer games industry. Let's go for the escape vector. And yeah, he's now the CEO of Frontier Development, so he's done very well for himself. But back in 1984, he was a young sort of 20-year-old college student, university student, should I say, because he went to Cambridge, very posh. He co-wrote with Ian Bell the original Elite game. And 1984, that was on the BBC Micro. There's ZX Spectrum, the Commodore 64, sorts of old computers that some of you will know about. I can do Super Cruise Assist on this. I think I've still got the Super Cruise Assist on this. So that's the era from which Elite Dangerous kind of hails, the early 80s. But at the same time, there were lots of other games being written. Now, Lords of Midnight was one such game. And it was like an RPG sort of strategy game, a very, very cool strategy. Look it up at some point if you don't know what it is. It was written by a chap by the name of Mike Singleton. Now, Mike Singleton was another kind of one of these genius computer programmers of the early 80s, and he wrote a series of games. The first one was Lords of Midnight, followed by Doomdark's Revenge. Then I think there was the Citadel, which did come out. And Eye of the Moon was going to be the fourth version of the game, but it was never made. So it's kind of the missing bit of the puzzle for those kind of vintage games. So that's the origin of Eye of the Moon, and it was a sort of Tolkien-esque sort of RPG. Very, very cool for those who remember it. And Eye of the Moon is named after that. Now, Mike Singleton, alas, sadly passed away in the year 2012. And actually, near enough, the same year that the creator of the Dark Wheel passed away. So it's all a little, tiny little bit mysterious, that. So Robert Holdstock also died in that particular era. So a lot of these creators have now passed on, which is really handy. We have to pass the torch to the next generation. So there we go. So Eye of the Moon. So it's nice to see these fleet carriers with some quite meaningful names, actually, particularly for some of us who know some of this old stuff, which is very cool. So and thank you very much for bringing them along, because I appreciate that these things are not cheap to buy, and B, certainly not cheap to run either. It is they're not they're significant bits of capital. Trabagu, was it? I get that wrong. Eye of the Moon was going to be the third. The Citadel was the PC version that replaced it. There we go. Yes, unfortunately, the Citadel didn't go down very well. It wasn't such a great game. It sort of tried to straddle the 8 to 16 to 32-bit. So, question there: how did I manage to get to write the Lords of Midnight novelization? Well, you can thank Twitter to that, actually. Oh, and it looks like another carrier has just arrived. So look, there's a whole bunch of people hanging around up there. That's very cool. So we are here at the Eye of the Moon. Basically, I was on Twitter one morning a few years ago, and I basically was just browsing the Twitter, whatever it's called, Twitter sphere. Twitterati, something like that, and just happened to stumble into a conversation about the Lords of Midnight, which I knew about as a computer game. And I was chatting with a chap about the strategy in the game and various other bits and pieces, and I just put a comment out there saying, "Oh yeah, I wrote the Elite Dangerous novels. Wouldn't it be great to write?" It's my son buzzing me. Thank you for that, for Josh. Wouldn't it be great to write one for Lords of Midnight? Because, oddly enough, there's a little bit of story behind the story of Lords of Midnight, and the story behind Lords of Midnight is that there was supposed to be a novel back in 1984. For the first player who finished the game, the publishers said, "We will write a novel that describes the adventures that you're on." And being computer gamers, of course, somebody did that in about 8 weeks after the game launched. The publishers had no idea it was going to be that quick, so they weren't ready for it, and so they had to sort of fob him off with some other prizes and say, well, maybe we'll do the book at some point, but of course it never happened, and 30 years later everyone had forgotten about it, until I sort of rocked up on this Twitter conversation. And the IP rights to Lords of Midnight had been kind of given to a really fine gentleman by the name of Chris Wilde, and he monitors Twitter, as you probably were looking for anything that's going on about that. And basically, he jumped in the middle of this conversation after me and this other guy were talking about Lords of Midnight and sort of effusing about it. And I said, "Oh yeah, I wrote this sort of stuff. I'd love to." And I basically put the tweet, "I'd love to write a Lords of Midnight novelization. Wouldn't that be cool?" And he just jumped in the middle of the conversation with, "It can be arranged," which was a very cool comment. And I kind of went, "Okay, what does that mean?" So we took it offline, and long story short, as we actually ended up having a conversation in a pub in London, and we hammered out the idea for the novel, and we signed up, and Lords of Midnight, the novel, became a thing. So that was very cool. So if any other kind of sci-fi franchises or fantasy franchises just want to have a cool conversation like that with me on Twitter, I'm more than happy to do so. That would be very, very cool. Keep getting buzzed by my son. There we go. So that was. That's a very long way around talking about the Eye of the Moon and Mike Singleton, but it was a very seminal game, kind of as influential in the 80s as Elite was, really. To be honest, I think it's Elite and Lords of Midnight are probably two of the most significant games, certainly on the ZX Spectrum, and the Lords of Midnight was originally exclusive. It was original on the ZX Spectrum. Whereas obviously the Elite came out on the BBC first, so the BBC isn't arguably a ZX Spectrum seminal title. It's a port, whereas the Lords of Midnight is an original Spectrum thing, and I don't think it was available on the BBC. I know it came out on the C64, but it's old school stuff. So anyway, so thank you very much. That's a long way around that one. So if you like Tolkien-esque fantasy, then that book is that's what it's about. That star's amazing, isn't it? That colour. So and there we get this. We get a nice view of this fleet carrier. The Eye of the Moon, named in memory of Mike Singleton. So fantastic. My only regret from all of these things actually is I never got to meet some of these people in person. So both Mike Singleton and Robert Holdstock, who I feel very sort of responsible for in some ways, because I'm sort of, in a narrative sense, I'm I feel a certain responsibility for carrying on their traditions. So, in terms of Elite Dangerous, I feel, and it's not mine, so I've got to be a little bit careful here. Raxler, the Dark Wheel, all of those bits of lore were curated by Robert Holdstock. So any reference I make to them, I feel I have to be very careful and respectful of, because they're his creation, and he's passed on to better things now. And so they have great significance for me, as I'm sure they do for many of you, and I feel things like that need to be treated with a certain level of respect. And Mike Singleton's legacy in terms of the Lords of Midnight and Doomdark's Revenge and the Eye of the Moon, as we can see this evening, to me are very important things, and they need to be treated with respect. So I'm now working on the novelization of the second game of Mike Singleton's, which is Doomdark's Revenge. Hopefully at some point we'll get to do the Eye of the Moon, so in a few years' time we can be coming back on this stream saying, well, there's the Eye of the Moon in the 34th century, but here's the story of what happened as well. So that's going to be quite cool as well. So it's a complete segregation into that. Now we are here in the NGC 782. I'm going to de-wing my sons in here if I keep crashing into my ship. We're here in the NGC 7822. Let me hold still, and then people can form up for screenshots. Let's have a look exactly where we are. Okay, so on the galaxy map, this is the location we're actually currently in. We're inside the Emissions Nebula. Okay, and this is the core world over here. At the top of the screen, you can probably see reasonably well. Let's just zoom that around. There we go. Some folks look like they're already on their way to us, which is good. Most people are already here. We will be going. Our next stop for next week is out here, and this is the entrance, if you like, to the Formidine Rift. At least as I originally envisioned it. It's on the galaxy map today. It isn't quite plotted in the same way, but this is how I kind of think. The Heart and Soul Nebula, which again is a real place. If you've got a decent telescope, you can see it in the sky. The Heart and Soul Nebula is a real thing. And when Michael Brooks and I originally collaborated on this, we wanted to make sure it was based on astronomy. So these places are actually there in the night sky in reality, which is quite cool. We're there. This is about probably not quite half the way to the entrance to the Formidine Rift. So in my head, the entrance to the Formidine Rift is about here. Now you can see if I zoom in, there's like a hole in space between the two nebulas. So that to me was like the gateway into the Formidine Rift. So this is the area that we thought would be a sensible place. Beyond this is kind of Here Be Dragons. That's how it was originally designed in the things. So there we go. So that's how that was originally designed. Those two. You can see where I've chosen the next destination is in there. Those two nebulas, the Heart Nebula and the Soul Nebula, kind of act as the pillars of the entrance to the Formidine Rift. Now, if you look at the galaxy map, if we zoom out a little bit, you can see that the area of space that's actually designated as the Formidine Rift is actually this quadrant here, which is vast and enormous. And I think that's just the way that Frontier decided to carve the galaxy up. So in my head, this space here is actually the Formidine Rift, the gap between the two arms. So you've got this arm here, which is full of stars, which is where we are now, which is why there's nebula and all that sort of things. And there's another fainter arm out here. And in between the two is an area of very thin, empty space. Okay, there isn't much there. And that's in the center of that is the Formidine Rift. So this is sort of, now it's quite hard. It certainly was back in the time for ships to get from the entrance across to the ultimate destination in the middle of the rift, and it was designed to be slightly awkward like that. But it may have been a little bit too tricky in some places because some of the jump ranges you needed were quite large. And this is before the days of engineering. This is before the days of synthesis and injection and all those sort of things, and it was before the days of the Guardians and the frameshift drive boosters, which you've all got nowadays. And clearly it was way before the invention of fleet carriers, which you could just go 500 light years and just jump in. So so all that sort of stuff. But even now, we're going to have to, as we get past the heart and soul node, we're going to take a little bit of a detour along the arm, because there's a construct over here which we're going to find as part of the route. But we'll get there in future episodes, so that's kind of good. But we're here at the moment in the S19 system, so that's where we're going to be hanging about today. And hey, look, there's ships all over the place, which is quite cool. So so that's good. So anyway, so Doomdark's novel, yes, Doomdark's Revenge is what I'm currently working on. I'm about halfway through it now. Aim to have that out for the summer if I can. Although actually we're in the summer, so maybe that's going to be a bit of a struggle. Because of COVID, my writing has definitely been curtailed a bit. So that has been a bit problematic, and various other bits and pieces. But hopefully, as we're coming back out, things will slowly get back to normal, and I can continue with the writing, because I want to get a bit more of that done. So Doomdark's is my next. Doomdark's Revenge, a novelization of a computer game. In fact, I can show you the boxes. Let me go and get them. I'm going to disappear out of the universe for a moment. So, what I always do at the Eye of the Moon. So, you've seen me talk about the original Elite. There you go. There's the original box of the original Elite. Apologies for the slight green screen effect there. There you go. That's what that looks like. This is the original box of Lords of Midnight. This is what that looked like at the time. Yeah, computer games came in these awesome boxes, and to promote them, and it has maps on the back and all sorts of good stuff like that. So that's Lords of Midnight. So I've done the novel for that one. This one is Doomdark, slightly tattier, unfortunately. This is Doomdark's Revenge, which was the sequel. And this is the one I'm working on at the moment. So there we go. So classic 80s computer games being novelised. Why not? Because it's good stuff. Right. So who else have we got? What else have we got here? Let's have a look at the system map. So that's Mike Singleton. We have the Guru Meditation we've been to before. Tyrion Dawn is a nice place. So, but I did see a Commander Salomé, which I think we should visit. So remember Salomé. So let's meet up at the Remember the Salomé next. Let's go and hoik over there. So, and we'll continue the story of the Formidine Rift, because what is the Formidine Rift? Some of you may be asking. Okay, so let's go and investigate. I'll explain exactly what the Formidine Rift is and how it came to be. Okay. So now a few people have asked me, actually, before we get to the Formidine Rift. You've done Elite, you've done Lords of Midnight. Are you going to be working on anything else? Well, at the moment, I've been working on my own science fiction stuff, which has been quite good fun. But if somebody said to me, if there's a computer game that you would like to do, what would it be? I think the one that would really there's two that are quite good at the moment. I'm enjoying playing Stellaris, so that's quite an interesting one. But a book's already been done for that, so maybe that one's off the limits. But that would be quite cool. But the one I'd like to do Stellaris. That would be quite good fun. I think you could set some really cool novels in the Stellaris universe. The other one, of course, is Homeworld. So those of you who played Homeworld, I would love to write a Homeworld novel. I would really like to write a Homeworld novel. So that would be very, very cool. So if anybody's out there watching and going, oh, well, okay, he's done that and he's done this, then Homeworld, Stellaris, definitely. I'll be up for those. So we'll see. You never know. Never say never, right? I need another one of those conversations. Maybe it can be arranged. If somebody tweets me on the internet after this and goes, "True, by the way," that would be cool. Not Jet Set Willy. No, I don't think there's enough lore behind Manic Miner and Jet Set Willy to do that. So look at those vapor trails. That looks amazing. So this game does do eye candy, to be fair, doesn't it? It's very, very cool. So anyway, off to the Remember the Salomé. So Homeworld is Homeworld's amazing. Yeah. So Homeworld 3 is being produced. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to Homeworld 3. I think that's going to be. I mean, Homeworld 1 was just. Stellaris would be very good. Yeah. So I mean, there's some very, very cool things in Stellaris, which I'm playing on my Friday stream, as you know. Novelization of Lemmings. be a very short story, that one. Just nuke the ball. Right, let's just do super cruise assist because that's nice and easy. So anyway, we've been to the Eye of the Moon, which is very cool. Super cruise assist to the remember the Salomé. So we've talked about Salomé before. I've probably done Salomé a little bit to death, so let's not worry too much about the Salomé. But herself, because she is a character that I use to kind of explain the background lore of Elite in the book. She's a mechanism almost like through who the story gets told. But the idea behind the Formidine Rift is it was one of 3 locations in the galaxy being used as a sort of test bed for an evacuation of the bubble. Okay, so the area of space that we know as the bubble is sort of overseen by a shadowy cabal that was given to me by David Braben as a construct in the lore called the Club. And you can go and look the Club up. They're very mysterious. Not very much is known about the Club. And they Anti-Tac demands novel. Yes, Anti-Tac actually. Yeah, that you could possibly set a novel in the Anti-Tac world. That might be quite fun. Did I play Deserts of Kharak? I have played it a bit, but I haven't played it to the end yet. I think I've got about halfway through and I've run out of time, so I need to go back and play Deserts of Kharak. UK Alley Cat says, is your 2-hour thing on Shapered spoiler free? Yes, yes it is, apart from probably very minor spoilers for the first book, which won't really spoil anything. Okay, so it's probably only like chapter 1 that might have a couple of hints in it. So no, I deliberately designed my Shadewood YouTube video and Twitch stream to be spoiler free, so you should be free for that. Yeah, how many of those shadowy cabals are out there? Yeah, it's a trope that gets a little bit overused, doesn't it? So yeah, so the Dark Wheel arguably is a shadowy cabal, and there are others as well. And the club is more sort of David Braben explained it to me like a sort of military-industrial complex. So it's kind of like it's not. In some ways, it's not so much organised as a thing than it is a construct that kind of comes together under the overview of certain sinister people. So they basically guide the progress of humanity, and they believe that the good of the many outweighs the good of the one or the few. Okay, so totally opposite to Mr. Spock in Star Trek. And they basically are manipulating humanity to their ends with the view of keeping humanity in existence forever. That's their sort of purpose. Okay, and if people get in their way, then they basically eradicate them. So that's kind of the club, and they don't officially exist. They don't have a name, hence the club. The Dark Wheel really is almost in some sort of competition with the club in the way the lore is structured. So the Dark Wheel has an agenda which is something to do with Raxler, which of course we don't really know much about. But the club and the Dark Wheel are definitely at odds. Certainly at the time of Elite Dangerous. Okay, they've got different objectives and they're getting each other's way. So that's a thing. And the Hudson Orbital Truckers are even more so. Yeah, I've met many of the Hudson Orbital Truckers, and I can confirm that they are indeed shadowy and cabal-y. Some of them are quite gnarly as well, but they're good guys. So basically the club have suppressed, or at least historically had suppressed knowledge about the Thargoids, okay, to the point at which most people didn't actually believe the Thargoids themselves were actually real. And they've basically made people like us, commanders in spaceships, out to be people who are just making stories up about things they've encountered in deep space to make ourselves sound cooler. Okay, so the general population of the bubble was basically under the impression that us spacers, as we're called, were just hyping things up for the sake of making ourselves sound cool and sort of thing. So that most people were very skeptical about whether the Thargoids actually existed or not. And the club had kept it that way for many, many decades to try and suppress the knowledge of the Thargoids. And the reason they were suppressing it is because they actually had intelligence about the Thargoids, which not only showed that they were real, but they were a significant threat to humanity. And this was all happening many, many decades ago, before the time of Elite Dangerous. So much so that they considered the Thargoids an existential threat to humanity. They basically said that the so-called war that we have with the Thargoids wasn't actually a war at all. From the perspective of the Thargoids, it was like a minor skirmish, and we only just managed to get away with pushing them back from our realm. And we did that. We went and investigated the shadowy nature of INRA, the Intergalactic Naval Reserve Arm, who had produced that strange virus, and they conned Commander Jameson into delivering it and all that kind of good stuff. So that's that's the story of INRA, and that's the story of what the club were up to. And what the club had basically done is they basically looked at the Thargoid threat and gone, okay, well, we've got a chance to defeat them, and INRA is one of our strategies to defeat the Thargoids. We're going to effectively try and commit genocide on the Thargoids and wipe them out. Okay, so that's one strategy. They also came up with, if that doesn't work, okay, we can try to fight them on a one-to-one military basis. So what we're going to do is we're going to inflame proxy wars between the Federation, the Empire, and the Alliance, and slowly get them to build up military capability so that we've got lots and lots of ships ready to go if the Thargoids invade. Which, if you go back to the Galnet in the year 3302 and 3303, you'll see lots and lots of posturing between the Federation and the Empire and all those sort of things, and it ends up with a cancellation of what was called the London Treaty, and which was basically like a strategic arms limitation treaty for spaceships. Okay, so basically, prior to that, there was a limit to how many military ships you could get, and Admiral Patrius, dear old Admiral Patrius of the Empire, cancelled the military, the London Treaty it was called, and which actually has its roots in a real treaty that was signed in the 1920s after World War One. So you can look that up as well. And after that, it was kind of carte blanche. Everybody could build as many ships as possible. So they kind of were trying to make sure humanity had lots and lots of ships. So that was the second pillar. And the third one was basically, okay, so if INRA's bioweapon doesn't work and our military build-up proves inadequate to stop the Thargoids, what is going to happen? Basically, we're going to have to evacuate the bubble. So we need somewhere to go. Where are we going to go? Well, we need to go somewhere which is significantly far out. And this is many decades ago, so before the modern frameshift drive, which has, of course, effectively changed the balance of power in the universe in this regard. And what's going on there is that they basically chose 3 areas of space out in the black, several thousand light years away from the bubble. And what that meant was that they would send out ships, look for places that we could, as humanity, inhabit out in the blackness, in 3 different directions away from the core worlds. So the idea being, if the Thargoids went for one of them, the other 2 might be spared, and humanity could kind of hide in the darkness and try and stay away from the Thargoids. So that was the third part of the plan. So 1, we'll defeat the Thargoids head on with a biovirus, this sort of mycoid virus. 2, we'll defeat them in a pitched battle with military vessels as best we can. And 3, we will run away. And those are the sort of 3 strands of the club's defense against eradication by the Thargoids. And that was how the story was set in the year 3303. That was what the law was always talking about. So what happened then was that certain people discovered there were these expeditions out to these 3 places in the galaxy. And one was the Formidine Rift, one was Hawking's Gap, and one was called the Conflux. And these places still exist, okay, so they're still out there. So if we look at the Codex, let's just show you what this looks like. So here we're on the Elysian shore right now, okay, not too far away from the inner Orion Spur, which is where we start from in the bubble. This is the Formidine Rift, so this is an area of space that we were looking at. There's also here the Normal Expanse, which is roughly where the Conflux is. And over here, in the Orion Singleton, this is sort of where Hawking's Gap was, I think. I'm getting that the right way around. No, it's the other way around. There's Hawking's Gap. This was the what was called the Conflux, but it's not. This is not a name that was adopted by Frontier when they named the galaxy map, which is a bit of a shame. But because a lot of these places were named by the players, and the players drew a map long before Frontier put one in the game like this. So Hawking's Gap, this was an escape route over here. The Formidine Rift was in the opposite direction, and there was it's kind of actually no, there it is. Look, in Orion Perseus Conflux, it was that sort of direction over there. There we go. So Conflux, Hawking's Gap, and Formidine Rift were areas of space. And the idea was that many, many decades ago, the club sent out a whole bunch of expeditions out there to try and find Earth-like world in these areas. Now this is pre-FSD, okay, pre-FSD. So this was a major undertaking. You just didn't get in your Sidewinder and go out there, okay? You had to go in a big ship. Anacondas were used in the law to get out there using the old hyperspace drives, which were slow and difficult and clunky and extra, all that kind of stuff, looking for worlds. And those areas of space were where we as humanity were going to go if everything in the bubble went pear-shaped because of the Thargoids. That was the story, okay? That was the story. So now what happened in the narrative was, of course, that the club wanted all this kept totally hush hush, as these cabals always do, okay? They they keep everything stum, so they don't want any secrets of this sort of stuff to leak out. And anybody who leaks out the secrets, of course, gets bumped off, gets killed. Let's just have a nice wander around to remember Salomé here. Fly underneath it actually, because that's kind of cool. We can have a look at some of those amazing. I can line it up actually. Let's just do that. I do like flying around these things because they're nice and big. There we go. I'm just going to go really slowly along. There we go. And then let's put the scroll lock up so we can kind of look at the ship as it goes past. There we go. That's quite cool. So yeah, so the club model was kept hush. Now some people did discover things about this, and the Dark Wheel seems to have been involved in some of these sort of things. And the club was ruthlessly suppressing this information. So anybody who found out about it was either zapped or killed or whatever it happened to be. But people got wise to this slowly and were trying to uncover exactly what the truth was. And it culminated in a lady called, an elite combateer called Rebecca Weston, who you can learn more about in some of my unofficial elite books, the fan fiction ones I wrote years ago. And I reused the character because she was kind of always poking her nose into things and trying to investigate stuff. So you know, some of that sort of stuff was going on now, but she actually discovered what was going on. But the knowledge of what she knew that if she tried to reveal any of the knowledge at the point where she understood it, she would have her memory zapped. So she actually voluntarily zapped her own memory and put it in a place where when it came to a point where she could reveal it safely, she would then be able to reinstate her memory. All very complicated, so it's a bit weird at this point. But it was such a secret that if she revealed it, she knew she'd be zapped if it wasn't at the correct time. So all those sort of things were kind of floating around. So the knowledge was out there, but it was being suppressed. And it was being suppressed mainly for the reason that the club thought it would cause massive panic if humanity as a whole inside the bubble got wind that the Thargoids were very likely to come and eradicate them. They considered it was far better for everyone to live in complete ignorance of the awful truth that might be bearing around on us. Nobody should know, okay? So if the Thargoids do come and wipe us out, well, you know, they had a happy life up until that point, it's all okay. But some people disagree with this approach, and you know, everyone has a right to know the truth, okay? But the truth is dangerous and all that sort of stuff. So that's the tension that's kind of coming on. So that's all the stuff that was about there. Now, Salomé also stumbles upon this recording, okay? So in the book Reclamation, she meets this strange old woman in a hospital, and the old woman gives her a clue, but basically saying, oh, it's buried in the Imperial databank somewhere, and it just happens that Salomé is an Imperial and has access to said databanks. So she looks up this information, and all it gives her is a clue saying, if you start from Riot and look at Ridquat, you'll see, and you follow that line, okay? Draw a line from Riot to Ridquat and follow that line to the galactic edge. You'll find something, okay? And that was the clue that was in the book, and Michael Brooks and I collaborated on that to put that mystery into the game, and that's kind of what we're following now. So if you look at that map, why's my game not responding? Oh, I've got the head look on. I've still got the head look on. There we go. If you look at the map, we go back to Riot and Ridquat. So this was a clue that was in the book. And it was put in Galnet as well. Okay, so you didn't, it wasn't a case of right, you've got to buy the book to join the mystery. That wasn't fair. We didn't put much in the book. We just mentioned it, so that people who hadn't spotted it in Galnet would also be able to take part. But if you line up Riort with Ridquat, there's Ridquat there. Okay, so if you line the two up, you'll notice it points pretty much. We're slightly above it, but if you go in that direction, and people work this out very scientifically, which is quite cool. But if you head in this direction. And fly through space, then it will take you out to a particular, and you can see there's a system right in front of us there that I bookmarked for my own usage. But as we fly out in this direction, and this was obviously early on in the game, right? We didn't know anything that was out there. So the first exploration, people went out here looking for. They weren't sure what it was. Okay, what was out here? All Salomé knew as an NPC in Elite Dangerous was that there was supposedly something out here, but nobody knew what it was. Only that it was supposed to be worse than the Thargoids, but it was actually kind of involved with the Thargoids. So this was the mystery that was in the game from kind of day one. And it's called, it's the Formidine Rift mystery, which we're going to kind of uncover and pick out as we go out there. This is going to take too long to go out there, but essentially that first clue leads you to, pretty much to the, we zoom out there, it leads you pretty much to the entrance of the Heart and Soul Nebula. Okay, and that's kind of a way marker on the way. And some of the other clues will point out the Heart and Soul Nebula as well. So there was a clue about the Vein Queen. Some of you may remember the Vein Queen and a giraffe. Well, those are constellations as seen from Earth that mark out this part of the sky. So the Vein Queen is Queen Cassiopeia, and it just so happens that the Heart and Soul Nebula is very close to the Heart and Soul Nebula. So that was a clue to head in that direction. You're on the right track. But if you manage to line that up correctly, you would ultimately end up here, which is our ultimate destination, the Psi-Radi system. And you can see it's very sparse, not too many stars out there, and that's where we're ultimately going to go to uncover the rest of this mystery. Okay, so that's. But Salomé gets the clue. Riort to Ridquat, somewhere out there is something weird. And basically, at the end of the book, she basically says to her co-pilot Hassan, why don't we go look? Let's go and explore it. And that's basically an invitation to all the players as well to go out there and have a look, see what you can find. And it wasn't supposed to be easy to find deliberately. It was a star system where the clue was to tell you what was actually going on. Now, Salomé died, as you all, I'm sure, know now, in the year 3303. She was killed. She was assassinated en route trying to deliver a message about what all this was about. And so, the players were interacting with the story back in those days, 3302 and 3303, and driving different choices as to what got revealed and all those sort of things. So it was an interesting time in the game. Okay, much more sort of narrative, lore-focused time of the game. Rather more so than now, obviously, because we don't have Galnet and things, and all the dev effort is concentrated on the new era. And Odyssey, as it's going to be called, which is all quite exciting. Yes, you got Harry Potterized. And you can, and most of you on the stream will know all about that, and the intrigue and stuff that was going on both in the game and in the meta of the game and in the lore and in the sort of meta of the lore and in Discord and on Twitter and everything. It was a mayhemy sort of time, but we had fun. The game was very much alive and doing stuff with that story. So it was a cool time to be part of the game. So when was the clue written? Right, the clue that is written in the book is supposed to have been put into the canon in about the year 3275. Okay, so it's oddly enough the same year that Salomé herself was born is approximately when Rebecca put the clue into the Imperial databanks. Now there's a reason for that, which if you read the book you'll understand if you like going into the background story of stuff. But about 25 years before Elite Dangerous actually opens is when the clue was effectively set in the lore. In the meta lore, if you like, Michael Brooks and I worked on this in the year 2012. After the Kickstarter for Elite Dangerous was successfully funded, one of the things that we had was a writers' forum. It's long since gone, I'm afraid, on the official Elite forums. But back then, the Frontier forums had a private group called the Writers' Forum, where the writers collaborated on ideas and stuff. And one of the things was to, do you want something odd and weird put into the game? And I came up with this sort of Formidine Rift mystery, a sort of Da Vinci Code in space is how I sort of pitched it. and because we weren't allowed to talk about Raxler, of course, you see, that's something we weren't allowed to do. So if we're not going to do Raxler, we'll do something else. So I thought, well, I can sort of pull in ideas of the sort of thing that if I was going to do Raxler, maybe that's the way I would do it. And I called it the Formidine Rift mystery, which is what it ended up being. And Formidine, by the way, is Italian for fear. Okay, so that's the origin of the word Formidine. It's Italian for fear. So it's the rift of fear. Okay, but I thought the rift of fear sounds a bit naff. So hence I called it the Formidine Rift, which gives it a bit more gravitas. So that's basically what that's about. Right then, so we've got other ships to visit. So what else do we have in here? Now there's one I do want to go and visit. Now contents may differ. That is a base. We've got some more just appeared. So what have we got here? Emperor's Revenge, Metamorph, the Absolution, Araxius Prime, cool name. The Alethea, I don't know the origin of that. That's good. The Morning Star, but the Tanne Law. I'd like to go to the Tanne Law, and I'll explain why. We'll go on the route. Okay, so so there we go, and off we go. So let's head to the Tanne Law, the fleet carrier Tanne Law. Yeah, I'll get back over there. Oops, there we go. Bum, bum. Engage Super Cruise. There we go. Where is it? Right, so head to the fleet carrier Tanne Law. Let's go see. So thank you very much for bringing the Remember Salomé, and it is good to remember Salomé. We've just actually back in April we passed the 3rd anniversary of her death, and on one hand, it's surprising to me that people are still talking about those events. Kind of 3 years game time down the road, but hey, it's all part of the story of Elite Dangerous, which is quite cool. So now, so let's hop off to the Tanne Law as well. So it's nice to see these. I quite like these fleet carriers and just sort of seeing these things. So I was a bit sceptical that fleet carriers wouldn't bring that great deal to Elite Dangerous, and I will probably never own one because I can't afford them, but. They are extremely handy to have about on expedition because we can sort of go exploring and then come back to a fleet carrier for tea and crumpets afterwards. It's really nice. And you don't feel alone out in the black in the same way as we used to in the olden days when just a few ships were about. Partly obviously we're all here at the same time for the stream, but it is nice to have these big space station capability. I love that. In space. So all that sort of stuff. So yeah, so the Formidine Rift was supposed to be something for the explorers, really. Okay, primarily because we certainly felt at the time that Pew Pew was fairly well catered for with all sorts of different types of weapon and stuff. And whilst particularly in the original version of Elite, of course. Before we had Horizons, we couldn't even land on planets. So the mystery was supposed to be a sort of quest offered to the darkness. Maybe you'll be lucky and find something, and so on and so forth. When Horizons came out, though, it kind of coincided with the time I was writing the Premonition novel, and Frontier basically sort of asked me, we need to expand this. We want more lore, and we want more other bits and pieces. And and it gave rise to elite players who called themselves Rifters. Okay, so they still exist. There's plenty of people out there who would still identify as a Rifter. Okay, so there was a whole bunch of people who were just and the buzzword for it was embrace the madness. Okay, because what the heck's this all about? But we went flying out into space. We were the Rifters. It was the space madness took us, and we just kept going on into the darkness, looking for clues in the darkness. And that's kind of what the thing was. It was supposed to be a slightly wacky quest that would only kind of engage those people who really wanted to get out into the darkness and go looking for weird stuff. But in the original game, there wasn't any planetary landing, so all we had really was the ability to put kind of small stuff out there. As we will see when we eventually arrive at the Zuara, it changed a little bit from its initial conception. We expanded it with a few other bits and pieces, and we had the opportunity to put planetary bases in. So we did change the story. So we didn't quite retcon it, but we certainly expanded it quite a bit when Horizons came out because we had so much more capability. And the The Zoara was originally a wrecked anaconda, but we were able to upgrade it and we changed the story. Because at that time nobody had actually found it, so it didn't matter. So we upgraded the story a little bit to take into account we now have these megaships and all those sorts of things. So there were some tweaks made as a result. But the overall story remained the same. So yeah, and we'll see that the Zoara megaship is the first ever megaship placed in Elite Dangerous, and it's the first example of voice acting in Elite Dangerous as well. So it's got some sort of historical significance in the sense of the game as well as the lore. So it's the first ever megaship, and it's the first one to have voice actors, and it's done by two very good friends of mine. Who did the voice acting for Amelia Tyler and Jay Britton. Very, very talented folks. They did the voice acting for it under my direction, actually, which was very, very cool, because initially it was just a text thing that you read off, and then they brought it to life as an audio recording and put sort of acting into it, which was very, very cool. But we'll get to that, because the story of that has to be told when we're there. So players back in 3300, 3301, 3302 had this vague clue that there was something out in this direction, but didn't know what it was, didn't know what they were looking for, and so loads of people went out there and came back, and went out there and came back, and and it was kind of a case: is there anything out there? But in the classic sense of exploration, until you find something, you're not sure whether there's anything out there or not, and so a lot of that sort of stuff was going on, and it took until about 3302 before. And Frontier, Frontier does this. Okay, they have different priorities at certain times, and the emphasis waxes and wanes depending on what's going on. So sometimes I was like, "Can we push this along a bit?" And they go, "No, we haven't got time to do it." Okay, I'll wait. So there's not much you can say to that. So sometimes we could push things out, and they said, "No, we're not doing any of that for another 3 months." Okay, but I can't talk about it either, so that's a bit embarrassing. But such is the way of game development. So we were able to do that, but back in about 3302, as Distant Worlds, the first Distant Worlds expedition was coming to a close, that's when that bit of the story picked up again. We were able to chuck more clues in, and it kind of was quite good because it allowed us to use the Horizons expansion as well and make things a bit better. So actually, it was a better thing to do. And then the Formidine Rift mystery slowly began to be solved by the players. Bit by bit, and clues in Galnet would turn up, and directions would point you to various different places to go investigate things and all that kind of good stuff. So all that sort of stuff was good. Anyway, we're coming into the Tanne Law now. The Tanne Law is named after, because I checked with the owner of the Tanne Law last week, is named after another set of fantasy novels. Okay, so there's a lot of fantasy novels out here in the black, which is quite cool. So the Tanne Law is named after Michael Moorcock's set of novels. If you haven't read them, they're very different to your normal fantasy novels. So I think I'm right in saying they're late 70s, possibly earlier than that. Somebody may know. So, are you able to say in lore when the Formidine Rift got its name and who named it? No, so I don't think I ever worked that out, actually. I left it sort of mysterious. So no, nobody knows. I don't know who. No, in lore, nobody, as far as I'm aware, named the Formidine Rift. It's just one of those things. It's a bit like the Bermuda Triangle. It's just sort of been called that because that's the name it was. So the Tanne Law is named after Michael Moorcock. Now he was a fantasy writer. Again, another one who's passed on, kind of a bit of a legend for me, really. But his science fiction fantasy, and it's a curious blend. Okay, so is it 90s? Is Moorcock still alive? 1950s to the present. Dances at the End of Time, yes. Oh, that's a good one. Okay, so we should visit the NGC 7822 sector BYQ. This has an asteroid base. Okay, well maybe we'll pop up. Yeah, that sounds like a fun thing to. Oh, he isn't dead. I thought he died. Oh, he's still alive. That's awesome news. Okay. Sorry, Michael Moorcock. Prematurely wrote your eulogy there. I'm not quite sure when these books date from, but they're quite old. But it was sort of almost reaction to the Tolkien era. Okay, now Tolkien, great man, J.R.R. Tolkien, Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit. Everyone knows of those stories, and some reasonable films were made out of those as well. But it was, a lot of the stuff that followed on after Tolkien was sort of a rehash of Tolkien. Okay, so you had dwarves and elves and orcs and evil baddies and dangerous quest and magic powers and wizards, and it all became a little bit kind of really that story again, which is problematic sometimes in the fantasy thing. Now but Michael Moorcock came up with this fantastic idea. Okay, well, two fantastic ideas really. Sort of reaction to Tolkien and Robert E. Howard's Conan and all that sort of stuff. Quite by the 1950s we were getting tired of the Tolkien-y style. Okay, in the 1960s. So it's a very different approach. And what Michael Moorcock came up with is it's a sort of almost like a post-apocalyptic environment where it's set in Europe. Okay, but it's set in a sort of weird future Europe where clearly we had some sort of advanced science, but that's somehow been replaced partly with weird science, but also partly with magic. And so you have this sort of weird medieval feudal type world with some really weird characters and really weird sort of things going on in it. But it's set in the future after what seems to be some sort of maybe a nuclear war. It's not clear, it's never alluded to, but some major calamity has overtaken the world, and what's left is this sort of weird Europe is still Europe, and some of the names remain the same, and it's set in this weird future state, but there is magic and there are swords and sorcery and all that sort of stuff. It's a very, very weird and different sort of setting, but it's got some fantastic stories in it. Okay, so if you've ever read, basically what you want to look out for the Hawkmoon series, which is very, very good, which is the Chronicles of Castle Brass, I think it's called now in the kind of the thing. So that's definitely worth doing. And then there is the sort of sequel to that. I can't remember what the books are called, but The Quest for Tanne Law is one of those books, and that's where the name of this ship. That's where the name of this particular fleet carrier comes from. So there's a lot of homage in the system here to science fiction and fantasy novelists. So it's lovely to see these fleet characters in that sort of space, because it's kind of a nice homage to all the sci-fi writers and science fiction writers that are out there, which is really cool. So that's the Tanne Law, which is really good. So Michael Moorcock will probably be pleased that those kind of things. And Tanne Law is the lost fabled city which you can never reach. Yeah, so there we go. Okay, so there's I haven't read Michael Moorcock for years now. I need to get back into it and do that again. So lots of reference to these sort of things, but that's what that one's all about. So some good sci-fi references, which is awesome. I really enjoy that sort of stuff. So but I understand what is the bug with the graphics with the fleet carriers. Someone's alluded to that. Is it? This is supposed to be purple, but some of them are not working. So there's Lornem Carrier, the Pearl of Samarandara. Oh, awesome. Okay, so let's take a trip out then, because the asteroid base is quite cool. And we're really here at this point. This is a sort of waypoint on our expedition. Paint jobs just don't work. Okay, fair enough. Presumably Frontier's aware of that. So where do we need to go? I'm going to find that system. Drew Wager, do you think Odyssey will lend itself to better storytelling? A lot of the excitement in your books are out of the ship. Yeah, so there's possibility. I mean, until we know, I'm just going to look up this sector before I do anything else. So we're going to go and visit an asteroid base since we're here. Let's do that. It gives different people a chance to get into the instance, because you never know. So let's go to the sector B. Where's it gone? BQ-Y D12 system. That didn't work. Oh no, I've got to type in NGC as well. NGC 7822. There we go. Oh, somebody already there. Let's go here. So this is NGC 7822 sector BQ-Y D12. Should only be one jump for most of us. There we go. That's where we're heading. So let's go. Let's pop over there. And we've got to turn around and see what that's going to do. So yeah. So do I think Odyssey will lend itself to something? Well, there's the possibility that it will, because, like you say, a lot of the action out of, in stories can take place outside the ship, because you've got to have a place to have some sort of hand-to-hand combat or whatever this happens to be. So if those sort of things are possibilities in Odyssey, there's definitely storytelling potential, and the fact that you can get down on the planet and stretch your legs. And what we've sort of been promised is that we can pick up missions and do clandestine dealings and smuggling and maybe things like that on the surface, haven't we, with Odyssey? So that's going to be quite fun to see whether or not that works or not. So I'm cautiously optimistic whether or not now. And we've been told the writers are not busy on Galnet and Interstellar Initiatives because they're working on Odyssey. And what we don't know is, are they working on just the mission giving aspects, or are they working on maybe? Oh, I've just jumped into Super Cruise, not hyperspace. Oops. Are they working on just the mission giving aspects of the game, or are they actually working on story content? I don't know. I don't know what they're doing. So. Well, because Drew Ager is in our squadron, that looks like that's the Dark Wheel Squadron. We mustn't talk about the Dark Wheel Squadron. Well, yes, Odyssey. Long live the Dark Wheel. There we go. So it's a free bit of advertising for our squadron on the screen there. I was getting these weird messages pop up, so they should start saying. If the Dark Wheel Squadron starts saying mysterious things on the screen, that's coming from. Right, so let's find this asteroid base. Where's that? There's the Pearl of Samandara. That's very cool. So there's fleet carriers out here as well. And where's the asteroid base then? So there we go. So let's the Gorgon research facility. That sounds like an interesting place to visit. So I didn't know this was out here actually. So much extra stuff has been built since I last flew out this way. It's quite fun to go and discover it. Anyway, so we're hooked on there. So let's throttle back and we'll go over there. That's going to be quite cool. Playing with that will. So yeah, Odyssey equals Ulysses. Ulysses 31. Wouldn't that be cool? I'd love to see Ulysses 31. Actually, now somebody requested. Now this is just a very silly aside, so you have to indulge me on this. Now I'm just going to fire up my Mixcraft synth. Let's wait for a moment, because somebody noticed on my stream that when I was rebuilding my study, I've got it's tacked away underneath there. Pull out. I have got a little keyboard. Okay, so a tiny little Akai keyboard. It's like got miniature keys. Someone said I need to play it. Now I do often. Oh, there it is. It's popped up. Let's just do that. I do play it occasionally on my ZX Spectrum stream on Saturdays, which is sort of my retro stream, and occasionally do a little bit of 80s nostalgia. So a few people noticed that I had this keyboard. Oh, you must use that, and it's like, okay, well, what shall I play? But Ulysses 31 is probably as good as anything. Okay, so let me just arrive at the asteroid base. We'll hook up and we can go for screenshot stuff. We'll it won't be very good. I mean, it's quite funny because I was playing on the Spectrum stream, I played a bit of Aha and I played a bit of Star Wars and Vangelis and all sorts of other things, and none of them tripped the copyright censors. So obviously, my playing isn't good enough that the systems recognise it as anything like the original. Which I thought was quite funny. So the nice thing about that is we can have a bit of music from the influential shows of the time without getting a copyright ban on the stream. So we'll give that a whirl anyway. So anyway, here we are at the Gorgon Research Facility, which is another good name. You see, that's a little bit of Greek myth. Ulysses 31, fantastic. For those of you, again, those of you of a certain age will remember Ulysses 31 as a fantastic cartoon. It still stands up pretty well today. I've got it on DVD box set. Definitely worth seeking out. For those of you who've not come across it, it's back in the 80s. Not only was there computer games like Elite, which were revolutionary for the time, but cartoons, space adventure, and just general adventure, science fiction, fantasy cartoons were really at quite an apex of production. Really, really good storytelling. So the classic tale of Homer's Odyssey, which is is thousands of years old. It's really, really ancient. That's what's right in the rings, isn't it? Look at that! Whoa, quite cool. Homer's Odyssey, which is an ancient story, was rewritten by a French and Japanese mix. Sort of consortium, and turned into a space version of the Ulysses Odysseus story, set in the 31st century with spaceships and robots and laser guns. It sounds mad, but it works really, really well. So, and it's got a very, very cool theme tune. So, let me just park up in front of. I won't be able to do justice to it, but it's basically the Odyssey in space with robots and a massive spaceship, and it's very, very cool. And some of the music in it is really, really, really good. So it was a magic. We would. I was when Elite first came out. I was 13, and so by the time I got it on my computer at the time, it was the year later, 1985. So I was 14 that year, nearly 15. And we. Actually, I don't need to dock, do I? I'll just hang outside for the moment. Let's get the. Where's the entrance? So we would come home from school. Race home from school to watch Ulysses 31 on the TV. None of the Netflixy catch-up stuff. This was just live broadcast. We'd catch up with Ulysses 31 on the TV, and things like Blake 7 and Star Trek were on reruns at the time as well. I do like these asteroid bases. That's very cool as well. There we go. Let's go on external camera for a bit. There we go. Free camera. That's what I want. Which slowly on my computer spins for some reason. I've got some sort of dead zone problem on this computer, but anyway, never mind. Let's hide the UI. There we go. So if you want to form up there, if you're in my instance, so a cartoon version of Homer is very, very cool. You can get yourself on the stream that way. Look, that's quite atmospheric. We've got rings, we've got a base, and we've got ships and all sorts of stuff going on. We would come home from school, watch Ulysses, watch the reruns of Star Trek and Blake 7 and things like that, and then we could fire up Elite and actually go and do it for real. So it was a very magical time being a teenager in the 80s. It was quite cool. It was the first time any generation had been able to play a game that even vaguely represented what you were seeing on screen, all that sort of stuff. So it's very, very cool, very, very cool indeed. Now, the reason for that, the keyboard. So I'm just going to set this up. How does it work? Yeah, it does. So I just need to get a very 80s sound. Okay, so let's see if I can find it. Synth lead, there we go. And we're going to have one called Jump Higher, which is very, very 80s. So, right, I'm just going to take my normal keyboard out the way, and then we're going to do a bit of, I think Ulysses is like this. So here we go. Wish me luck. Let's get that back on the screen. There we go. I've got it wrong. There we go. There it goes. Did it. You need lots of rhythms and stuff. Yeah, I did need to. It's better on cellos. I need to practice it. So, trouble is, this is really hard to play. This thing. because it's only 2 octaves, okay, and it's tiny. I'll get better. Anyway, you get the idea. I am drifting towards the bass. I better shut the engines off. So that's the keyboard. I don't normally. I've only started playing it actually for the. Let me throttle back. There we go. I've only started playing it recently, so I don't. It's not designed to do live keyboard playing at all. I've got a proper piano downstairs, which one of these days I will have to be. I'll take you downstairs and we'll look at that. We'll do a proper keyboard because I can play that much better when I've got proper set of octaves. I only use this for entering little melodies into the Mixcraft thing in order to kind of make other bits of music. It's just like a sequencer input thing. That's what it's designed for. playing it like that is kind of quite hard work. It's not ideal. It's good fun. So every so often I can kind of just So I have been working on a bit of aha actually. So you should be able to recognise this one, which is see if I can get this right. This one probably won't trigger copyright either. But you know, music of the same era is kind of quite atmospheric. And it's onwards as well. So you can still sort of just play the term. I'm gonna have to learn some of these. Okay, so this is what space madness looks like. Okay, so once you've been out in the black a certain length of time, yeah, everything goes mad. So it's all part. So it's very nostalgic 80s stuff. Okay, to me is elite. Oh, the Imperial March. What's that? I need a bit. But I've got an octave down button actually. Let's try that. There we go. No, I can't remember the rest of it. Something like that anyway. I can play a bit of Star Wars. No, is it? No, too small. There we go. Palpitize after me. So that's anyway. That's the keyboard. Okay. So I won't cover the stream. I'm more inspired on yeah. So there's various bits and pieces, but there we go. So yeah. So we mustn't go too far down there, otherwise we'll get ourselves banned. But there we go. So anyway. Enough of that. We are quite close actually, aren't we? So I'm just going to back cautiously away from this base here because I've got myself a little bit too close. Let's just get some space back. But all of these things, okay, all of these things, Star Wars, Star Trek, Blake 7, Ulysses 31, and the literature of the time, okay. Yeah, I'm trying to be good, but I think there's somebody behind me. I can't see. Maybe I should try and go forwards. Is there somebody behind me? There's definitely ships about. I'm going to try and reverse. There we go. Ah, it was that Anaconda. There we go. That's right. It's too many ships. Too many ships. Yeah, so no, I wouldn't. Oh yeah, got to be careful. Yeah, so messing up. Can I play Hitchhiker? Hitchhiker is that was quite simple, was it? No, how did that go? No. Hang on a minute. Something like that. anyway. So I think that was Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, the original one. Anyway, that's the radio show version. So all of those things are big parts of the 80s, okay, and those sort of inspirations, a lot of those sort of inspirations are actually in Elite, okay. It's a big part of what's all that sort of stuff in there. So all those sort of things are. Did you get to see a carry arrive yet? No, so it didn't work on our stream, did it? I played. My son's popped in with Electric Dreams. He can play it far better than me, so I'm not going there. That's yeah. So this is becoming hits of the 80s now. So we should try to do other things. No, I haven't seen a fleet carrier arrive. So this would be a good thing to capture on the stream actually while we're out here. So is anybody prepared to bring a fleet carrier into whatever system we're in? Where are we? This BQYD12 system. That would be very good if we could. I would like to see. Oh, Enola Gay. Yeah, we did. Yeah, Enola Gay. Oh, that's my other son. This is Log. So that one's quite good. What key is that in? Yeah. That one, isn't it? No, it's a different key. I've forgotten how to play it. No, it's up there. Doesn't matter that anyway. So there we go. So lots of stuff from that period of time. Okay, it's probably enough of that. I'm going to leave the keyboard alone. So yeah, so fleet carriers. I would love to see one arrive. I haven't seen one arrive yet. So it's I'll move the absolution to give you another chance. That would be really good. Let's try the absolution. Thank you very much. So let's see if we can. It appears on the contacts after a certain amount of time. So give us a heads up. Beverly Hills. That was Axel F, isn't it? I can do that one. That one's quite easy. I need the keyboard that way, or the other keyboard that way. Because you've got a beautiful bass line on that one, which is like this. It's sort of. So that's the bass line, and it's sort of. And you've got this kind of funky chord bit. We should have a. This is like a hits of Elite. So Tainted Love. I have to write these down, and we'll do a request list. Harold Faltermeyer. There we go. That's exactly right. So he was a very cool guy. So I've sent my carrier here as well, the Araxis Prime. Okay. So how do I detect where they're coming from again? Somebody told me this the other week. Is it on the contacts tab? So these are just the commanders that are here. Where do they appear? The Space Madness is taking its back in the 80s, yeah. It's all good stuff. Oh, tell you what I can play. This is proper Elite, okay. This is a good stuff. While we're waiting for the fleet carrier to appear, this is proper Elite. So did you know? And some of you definitely will know. It's the nav panel. Okay, so I'll keep thumbs on the nav panel. It's not showing up yet, but there we go. Okay, let me just make sure I haven't got a filter on there. Oh, I have. I've got them switched off. There we go. So I just need to. Actually, no. I literally just want the fleet carriers. That's what I want. That's what it was set to. So it hasn't appeared there yet. Okay, so we'll. So did you know? I mean, and definitely some of you, but for those of you who don't know, Elite did actually have a theme tune. Okay, Elite 2 had its own theme tune written by the amazing David Lowe. Okay, now he was a very famous musician who did a lot of music for early computer games, particularly in the 90s. Okay, it'll only show up when you switch flight mode. Okay, am I on flight mode? Which flight mode am I in? Combat mode, or which mode do I need to be in? Find the FSS. Okay, so do I need to do a scan? Let's go to analysis mode. Oh, now I'm getting told off. They're not weapons. That's another bug in the game, isn't it? You can't deploy your hard points and scan things without triggering the authority and getting into trouble there either. Right, so I'm not seeing it at the moment. So tell me, anyway, I'll keep an eye on the chat. So I've got to be in Super Cruise, but it's too early. Anyway, we'll tell when I'm looking for it. But yeah, anyway, so Frontier, the second game in the Elite franchise, Frontier Elite 2, had its own theme tune, which goes like this. No. A bit lower than that. This is quite pretty much how it sounded as well. I've run out of keys. There you go. That's about as close as I can do on 2 octaves. It sounds better in the game, actually. So go and look up, particularly if you can find the orchestral versions. It's actually really quite a nice theme tune. It's pretty well done. It's kind of, it's 80s spacey, 90s spacey, sort of lots of triad chords and all that sort of stuff. But it's a good theme tune. So yeah, so it's all good stuff. Fantastic. Yeah, MIDI soundtracks. We had to configure your computer to do it and all that kind of good stuff. So we've seen that a few times on this stream as we put the original. But yeah, so the original game had some of that sort of music as well. And yeah, if you look at it, you got the. It's almost exactly the same sort of structure as things like Battlestar Galactica, which are. It's got that sort of military, US in space sort of vibe to it, which is what it was all about back in the day. And actually, what's nice here with the fleet carriers, we feel that we've kind of got. Okay, I've got to go to Super Cruise. Okay, let's get that done. Back off there. Let's go into Super Cruise. Okay, so everybody who's here, let's quickly jump 8 minutes until the carrier arrives. I really want to see this time, so I hope the game isn't going to bug out on me. Let's go to Super Cruise. Need to get away from the asteroid base. So follow me and we'll head into Super Cruise above the rings here. Tanne Law is jumping in 15 minutes. Okay, so they are in the nav list now. Okay, so let me get into Super Cruise and then we'll back off the throttle a little bit. Let's just enjoy the views actually as we fly away, because it's quite cool, isn't it? There we go. Let's do that external. So there we go. Away from the asteroid base, up and out of the rings. Very nice. Turn the HUD off. There we go. See a whole bunch of ships flapping about over there. That's awesome. Having this external camera is so good now. By comparison. Right, we should be probably far enough away. No, we're still mass locks, come on. There we go. Come on, that's out of the range. So we'll jump in. Now I do want to see this right, so let's jump into the frame shift. Put that away. Okay, one of the biggest influence on FDev is definitely Douglas Adams. So yeah, so there's oh, that's a bit mean, Ellie Cap. That's quite good. Specifically the quote, I love deadlines, I like the whooshing sound as they make as they fly by. Okay, fantastic. Right, so here we go. Alright, they're all here. Okay, so I can see the absolution. Let's just throttle back there. It's not very far away. The Araxis Prime is... So how do I know which ones are coming? I know the Pearl is already there, so that's an incoming. Okay, so let's try the Absolution since it's first on the list. So I'll lock the destination. It sounds like the planet's in the way, unfortunately. Or the rings are in the way, or something. So we're going to have to sort of duck. Oh no, there it is there. Okay, so the Absolution is head for the Absolution. We'll see if we can see it. And if that doesn't work, we'll try the next one because I do want to see this arrive. Okay, so the Absolution hasn't arrived yet, so there we go. So let's see if we can make this work this time. So everybody head for the Absolution. We'll see if we can arrive. Okay, so the ones with the jump route symbol are the ones that are incoming. Okay, so this is nice to be able to see. Let's go and see if we can see this. I suppose I ought to learn the Blue Danube. That's the other one. No, I'm gonna have to work that. I'll work that out for next week. Trying to play by ear actually on a tiny keyboard like that is not it's definitely not ideal. I can tell you that. But all those sort of things are formative parts of the whole Elite story. All sci-fi franchises borrow from other sci-fi franchises, right? So what's a safe distance to wait for the Absolution to appear? So that's my next question. Shows the time on the arrival on a details list. Okay, so right, expected to arrive in 4 minutes. Okay, but it's not counting down. Is it supposed to, or do I need to click it? Oh, there it goes. It's not a live timer. Okay, so it's supposed to arrive in 3 minutes and a bit. Okay, so that's cool. Good. Okay, how far away should we be? 3 kilometers is safe. Okay, so let's get to about 3. So I don't want to blow anything up. Let's stay about 3 kilometers away from the ship. And then what we'll do is we'll try and get the external camera just before the ship arrives. Okay, so that'll probably do there. So let's form up. Where were we? We're about 3.4. A little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. You can see Commander Anna Claire's ship, which is a little asp. Nice. There we go. We're about 3 kilometers out. Right, I'm stationary. I'm pointing at that. It is now. Come on, Absolution. 3 minutes until the Absolution arrives. That's probably time for another song. Hey Drew, how's things going? The stream is looking awesome since I last stopped by. Oh, good to see you. Nice to see all of the commanders basically on the stream. Yeah, new and old. It's nice to see some of the old people I've been playing Elite with since before Elite Dangerous was a thing. But great to have new commanders on as well. So just learning about the lore in the background. Now we're not really talking about the lore anymore. We've kind of covered the lore. So if any of you have missed the previous episodes of this tour, because we're really on a bit of an expedition now rather than the actual lore tour. If you've missed the lore aspects of what I've been talking about for the last sort of 3 months, they are all available on YouTube. So if you look up Drew Wager Lore Tour on YouTube, you will find it. Okay, so Elite Dangerous Lore Tour, anything like that. Yeah, every previous episode is on YouTube. So if you have missed it and you're travelling out in the blank and you want to listen to me rambling on about stuff and occasionally interjecting lots of silly anecdotes about things from the 80s, they're all there. So I think there's about, for the actual Law tour itself, I think it's about 22 hours long. So that should get you all the way to Beagle Point and back nowadays. So yeah, if you do if you do want to watch it, then you can. Yes, it's a bit of a 1980s, 20th century music expo going on at some time with sort of funky synth sounds as well. So yes, that's all quite good. But yeah, the Frontier theme tune is all part of that. So how are we doing? Countdown is progressing. The absolution is now 1 minute 25 seconds away, hopefully. So we're waiting with bated breath for the absolution to arrive. Now, will it be an absolution? Let's hope it is. So I'm just going to go to the external camera. Somebody's parked a crate right on top of my crate, which looks looks wrong. Whoever's doing that. Now I've heard this thing about Raxler being located. Now is it? You know, I heard that the Dark Wheel maybe had been located and stuff. So I don't know. I need to. I haven't had a chance to investigate some of these rumours and make my own conclusions up. But we should investigate. So there should be audio announcements as well. Okay, I'm in my ship. Do they work in the external camera mode? Crate parking. Yeah, crate expectations. That's how sidewinders are made. Oh, there's light. Is that somebody's ship up there? So we're all hovering around in the darkness in this nebula, waiting for a ship to arrive. Now, come on! I want to see, whether these are working. So, can anybody give me a countdown on the chat, because I can't now see the countdown because I'm in the external view. So do tell me. Oh, there it is! It's just arrived. Boom! It just sort of appeared. We didn't get the lightning. What happened to the lightning? It's just there. Poof. Okay, well that was. I mean, it sort of arrived. That wasn't that. We didn't. P2P networking happened. Okay, well maybe that's as good as we get. Just poof, it appeared without any special effects. But okay, I've got the show. So anyway, okay. Well, anyway, it's good to see the absolution has arrived. At least we got to see. Oh, so the jewel that burns on the brow of the mother of galaxies. There we are. To Raxler, the Dark Wheel Squadron is telling me. So let's try the next one. Yeah, let's try the next one. So right, which was the next one? Who's coming in next? The Guru meditation is coming in 3 minutes. The Valiant is coming in 2 minutes. So let's try. Oh, hang on. Which one should I go for? That one's going to give us a little bit longer to get in position. So I'm going to go for the Guru meditation. Head to the Guru meditation. We'll see if we can see this one arrive. Anyway, welcome to the Valiant. Good to see the Valiant actually arrived. Oh dear, sorry about that. Let's see if we can get to the Guru meditation in time. So at least we got to see it. Oh, someone's just given me a fine for reckless flying. I'm such a bad boy. Alright, so let's go and see the Guru meditation, see if we can get there before it appears. Come on, charge. Too many other ships about, you see. Here we go. Alright, we're charging. He scratched my shields. Who was that? Oh, I filmed it from. Oh, my son's filmed it. Okay, so I didn't see any special effects. It just literally appeared. Hang on, I've lost it. Where's it gone? Guru meditation. There we go. What's that? Okay, there it is. Right, so arc around the planet. Let's get this right. See if we can see this. Oh, I bumped into you. I knew it'd be my fault. Audio alerts only work in the cockpit. Okay, well I'm going to stay in the cockpit this time to see if that helps, because I haven't heard those audio things either yet. Hopefully we can get there in time. It really matters At least it appeared, because last week we tried to see it, it didn't appear in the instance at all. So I don't think I want to be in the rings. Where is it? Oh, it was in the rings. Oh, I'm going to have to do a loop of shame now. I wasn't expecting it to appear in the rings, actually. Is that right? That's cool if it does. Okay, yeah, it's appearing right in the rings. Fair enough. Let's go down there then. I hope the ship doesn't get damaged by being right in the ring system. Wow. No, I'm going through the rings. That's on the wrong side. Ah, I was underneath the rings. Oops. Right, I'm going to have to fly through there. I may not make it now in time. I couldn't tell from my vantage point which way around that was. How much time have I got before it arrives? 46 seconds. I'm not going to make it. Typical. Hope you're there then, guys. So enjoy the view. How annoying. Oops, that was bad flying on my part. So I'm going to have to duck down through the rings, but I'm not going to make it. It's going to arrive before I get there. It's pretty close to the rings though. Yeah. Yeah, I was too late. I should have thought about that. It's 1.5. It's not very far away, but it's going to take me a moment to get out of the mass lock of the rings as well. Guru meditation, is that from the Amiga error message, right? Yep, debug page. So lots of good memories of stuff. Come on, can't get my ship fast enough. So I'm not sure why I'm not having any problems with the streaming this end, so I don't know what's causing that. I haven't got any issues here, but yeah, it's the internet doing its thing anyway. So I've probably missed the ship now arrive, which is a bit annoying. I'm making a mistake there. Never mind. It's so close to being in range. I almost got away with it as well, and that was in 1.5. Is it there already? Yeah, it's already arrived. So I've missed it. Ah, dear. Never mind. Are there any... Muck it, wasting people's tritium as well. So hang on. The Tanne Law is on its way. Oh, that's 50 seconds time. I can't get to that one either. I'll never make it in time. It's going to have to be another one for another stream. Ah, dear. Anyway, let's go and see the ship since we're here. My bad flying. Put bait down. I won't make it. No, I'm not going to. I'm too. Even the Tanne Law is too far away from me at that thing. But never mind. Audio's fine. The visuals seem to be behind. So. Yeah, there's quite a lot of us, and we've got quite a lot of people on the numbers here as well. So it's just us mussing about with trying to get. I think it's probably Twitch being Twitch. Yeah, but never mind. We'll do more stuff. So I've yet to capture the ship's. That's a nice looking one. That one looks good. But let's get a nice visual of that with the rings, because that is a nice. The Dawn Sisters arrives in 10 minutes. Okay, well we'll try again with the Dawn Sisters. That is a nice view. Look at that. We can put that in front of the rings. That's going to be a nice screeny. Definitely. And the Morning Star's on its way as well. Okay, I'll try one of those. Fantastic. Well done, guys. Give me another chance to show how bad a pilot I am. That looks awesome. Look at that. Just stuck in front like that. Let's just back away from it a little bit. Down a tiny bit. Kind of. That's a proper sci-fi shot, isn't it? Look at that, with the rings arcing around in the background. There we go. That looks amazing. There we go. Let's put that in. Look at that. So that's a proper screen. Look at that. That looks like any sci-fi show you can possibly imagine, doesn't it? That just looks insanely good. Hovering above the rings like that. That just looks amazing with all the other ships kind of kicking him out. So one thing you've got to give this game is it really It really looks amazing. Okay. So we can watch the Pearl. Now I do want to see. I've seen one of these ships loot. So Frank Miner saw it. I do want to see one of the ones arriving. So let me get a look at that. Which one was coming? So we've got. Hang on, it was on not on my chat actually. The Morning Star's on its way, and what was the other one? I can't see that. Oh, this user interface I found really right. Dawn Sisters arrives in 10 minutes, and the Morning Star is on its way as well. Yeah, so that does look pretty impressive, doesn't it? So there's a good vista at the CRV Nightwish. Okay, so we might pop back there at the end of the stream now. Okay, so I haven't got any incoming there, but we might see some in a minute. Okay, I've got some other people I need to. So we've got the wing. The wing is holding together quite well, which is good. Even the 1% people are here, yeah. with all of their liners. So that's nice. I still wish there was a bridge on these ships. I think it would be very cool to have a bridge on the fleet carriers, but can't have everything, at least not straight away. Look at the size of it. It is enormous. And it makes the game feel. I'm interested again. I was a bit sceptical about what the fleet carriers were going to add, to be honest. But having these big executive ships in the game that can move around and do things does to me at least make the universe of Elite feel a little bit more animated, because the space stations were so static. They just sat there and span away. Whereas these things, because they're not always in the same place, they feel like the universe is a bit more. Kind of lived in and has got stuff going. It feels a little bit more alive because of the fleet carriers, because they're player created and managed things. It does lend a bit more. This is giving me vibes of. Who remembers the Disney film The Black Hole? Okay. When they find the ghost ship, I can't remember what the ship's called actually, but it's basically sitting near a black hole. Hence the name of the black hole. Cygnus, the ship, the Cygnus. There we go. And this is that sort of vibe to it, that you can sort of you can switch your exterior lights on, and you've kind of got like it feels almost like a ghostly ship that's sort of hanging here in space. Which is cool. The only thing I suppose, it's definitely changing the game a bit, because you can't go anywhere at the moment. There's not a fleet carrier there, which I don't think is bad, but. It's definitely given it a different vibe. So here we go. Look, I can pretty much do the Cygnus thing with my lights. Is it a ghost ship? You can imagine some fantastic stories being told of this. If I hit, there we go. Hit the flight assist off. So let's throttle off. Does that work? I kind of want to just keep rolling that way. There we go. There we go. With the flight assist off. Just sort of. Okay, Dawn Sisters at 2048. Okay, let's do that. So that's quite cool. Flight assist. I can't fly with that flight assist for very long. Let's get into Super Cruise. And we'll go to the Dawn Sisters. Now the Dawn Sisters that's a nice name too. Say goodbye to the Absolution. No, it wasn't the Absolution. Which was that? Guru Meditation. There we go. So let's get that in. Using BGS is fun as well. So that's another thing, is back in the bubble, of course, the initiative to further the cause of the Dark Wheel is a thing that's coming on as well. So that's worth. Right, the Dawn Sisters. No, that wasn't it. Let's get to the Dawn Sisters. There we go. It's incoming in 5 minutes. Right, I want to see this one. So let's get to the Dawn Sisters. I don't want to get too close to the planet, because this isn't. They're all popping out really near the belt, which is giving me a sort of Expanse theme tune. So anyway, well, I can see all the. See, to be fair, in the olden days, this amount of networking would never have worked with Elite, because it's actually. Given the fact I've actually in my house, we've got three of us playing tonight. We've got myself, my two sons, and I'm streaming on one internet connection, and the networking is pretty much holding together. Yeah, it's quite impressive stuff. So right, let's see if we can get in here to see the Dawn Sister arrive, and the Dawn Sisters, shall we say? And yeah, it's definitely better than it used to be. But we do need. Ideally, we ought to have. Was that above or below the rings? This is. Or is it literally right on the edge of the rings? It is, isn't it? Right on the edge there, which is quite cool. It's sort of in the gap almost. There we go. 2 million kilometres out. They really park them close, don't they? Which is nice because you get some fantastic screen sets. There we go. Right, Dawn Sister. Right, we're in the instance. Is anybody here with me? I think I should be that way up. There we are. Oh, well, somebody is. I don't know how far above the ring plane we actually are. Actually, there we go. I'm on the boost. I'm going to get too close now. Let's go back. Back. Come on, here. Let's back off a bit. There we go. We can hopefully, well, that'd be quite cool if we can see it arrive from that sort of vantage point. That's going to be quite cool. There we go. Let's leave it like that. Right, I'm going to stay in the cockpit this time because I haven't seen the audio announcements either. Heard. There we go. About 3 kilometres out, so that's cool. Let's go in a little bit. I do want to see this arrive. Right, so how long is it before it arrives now? 2 minutes. Okay, so that's good. 2 minutes 24. Okay, so we're good. Right, so that's about 48. Brilliant. Okay, so I'm about 3 kilometres. Right, so stabilise. Right, I'm going to stay in the cockpit this time. Felt like I was too close. Okay, for 5 kilometres away is a bit. Okay, I'll just back up then. 5 kilometres is better. Right, let's just reverse up a little bit then. Because they're big things, you know, they're big ships. Let's sort of do that. And then after that, we really need to kind of get organised for our next jump out, okay? Because we need to be heading off to the Heart and Soul Nebula, so we'll have to work that out as well. Try and get a bunch of people into the same instance and see how it works. There's also some eye candy I want to see as well. So too many things to do. There's always too much stuff to do, even on a 2-hour stream. Right? Am I going forward or backwards? Come on, settle down to. There we go. Right, I'm stationary. Yay, excellent. All these ships, yeah. So, yeah, the stream turned into which carrier won't bug out. So, the Pearl of Saramandara is an excellent name. Yes, so that's very, very good too. Right, so it may not. Yeah, we'll see what happens. That almost got exactly 5 kilometres. That's pretty good. Right, 1 minute. Come on. Do I know if there's anything else to find in the Formidine Rift? Well, I know what I asked Frontier to put out there, and that has definitely been found. So as to whether they added anything else, I don't know. But a lot of yeah, it's 3 years down the line since then, so I wouldn't be surprised if there's other bits and pieces that are out there. But it's fairly well travelled now by explorers, so I don't know if anything new has been found recently. So don't go into the outside camera. Now I'm going to stay in the cockpit. We must be down to about a minute now. 21 seconds, okay, so it should be about to happen. So come on, do your thing, Elite Dangerous. Don't remember hearing the announcements either.
Warning.
Oh.
Capital class signature detected.
Hey, that sounds encouraging. Oh yes, something's happening. That's more like it, isn't it? That was it. We've seen it. Yes, I'm happy now. That's what that really kind of. Now, if you get the chance, the Nautilus class is a nautical themed horn effect. Ah, there we go. So that looked pretty good. I don't know what the smoke is actually supposed to be, but it looks good, doesn't it? Space smog. It's quite an impressive special effect. That's not going to get old for a while, is it? You know, all that sort of super duper hyperspace stuff. So yeah, so that was good. We've seen it on the stream. Yay! I'm happy now. Right, that's fantastic. So right now, we for next week are going to get to the entrance of the Formidine Rift. Okay, now the entrance to the Formidine Rift is between the Heart and Soul Nebula. Okay, which is right out here. It is a fair away. It's another nearly 5,000 light year run. Okay, so that's where we need to be for next week's stream, out between the Heart Nebula and the Soul Nebula. That's where we're going to be heading off. I'm going to turn that down there. That's where we're going to be heading. So we kind of need to assemble then, in that case. Let's choose a system that we can all hyperspace to, which is close by our current location. That's where we are at the. Is that where we are at the moment? Yeah, that's where we are at the moment. In fact, that's what we'll do, because it doesn't really matter which direction we go. But the next chart on the route, so we should all be able to get to. Let's go here. Okay, so set your hyperspace jump to NGC. I'll type it in the chat so it's easy for you. NGC 7822 NGC 7822 sector DL-Y E0. Let's go there. Okay. We're going to jump there in a moment to kick off the next bit of the expedition. Okay, so set your hyperspace to NGC 7822 sector DL-Y EZ0. That's going to take us on the route. Okay. That shouldn't take too long. Why is it? It's one jump. Why are you taking ages to plot? So if you haven't joined us at the moment, join us in the current sector, which is BQYD12, and we'll jump from here out of the rings. It's going to be quite pretty. There we go. So we should be pointing in that direction. So if you're in my instance, form up with me, and we will engage hyperspace in that sort of general direction as well. That will be quite good. So I like it. Yeah, I like a good hyperspace jump. So there's good 5, 7, 10 people in my instance that I can see. And yeah, so I'll let everybody else jump. I will follow, so it's going to look better. Okay. So I will let everybody in my instance jump first. Okay. Now we're going to jump. So if those of you are in my instance, let me just zoom out in this camera. So form up around my crate. That's it. I will let you guys go first. We should. How far away am I asking you to jump? Let's just double check that. Oh, this is actually that's 61 light years. Sorry, that is a bit much. It's working on my. Where are we? We're here. Let's do something a bit closer. Sorry. Yeah, that's a good point. Let's do this one. Sorry, my bad. This is a T-Story start. Let's do this. NGC 7822 sector BQ-Y D11. Okay, that one. So yeah, apologies for that. My ship has got. Oh, we could just go back to S. Yeah, actually, let's do that. Let's go back to S. Let's go back. Yeah, let's do that. Let's go back to S7. It doesn't really matter which direction we jump in, does it? Let's go back to S17180. That's easy. Good call. Let's do that. S17180, which isn't very far away. At least it shouldn't be, because we've only just come from there. It's 12 light years away. Okay, let's just go there. Perfect. Okay. Yes, it doesn't matter which direction it is in, although it's probably. I know we're good. We're good in this instance. There we go. We actually go straight across the fleet carrier. So sorry about that. Yeah, let's just go back there. use that as our next hyperspace jump. So those of you who are in my instance, you should be near me now. That's quite good. And we'll basically travel across the rings. Now what I'll do is I'll hang back, okay? I'll hang back while the hyperspace jump goes. So we're going to jump. We're going to jump at what? It's just gone 21. What game time is it? It's just gone 20:55 game time. So we are going to jump. Let's do the jump at exactly 21 game time hyperspace jump. Okay. So S17118. Okay. So use the S17118. There we go. Okay. So hyperspace to S17118, we're going to get exactly at 2100 hours game time. Okay, so if you're in my instance, if you can form up with me, we'll all throttle up. If you charge your hyperspace drives in readiness for the jump at 2100, then I will charge mine slightly later so I can capture everybody else going. We'll see how that works. That should be good fun. We could be mass. Yeah, we are mass locked. Okay, good point. That is another one. Right, let's accelerate forward then, folks. We need to get out of range of the fleet carrier. So let's do that as well. Thank you very much to the Dawn Sisters for jumping in. So let's move away from the fleet carrier until we're out of mass lock. 2100 hours. We'll do the jump to the S171-18 system, which is where we started today. And I'm just waiting for that mass lock to go. There we go. Far enough away from the fleet carrier. There we go. Right, I'm out of mass lock, so we'll throttle back there. Okay, so join up with me there, and we'll do a mass jump. Okay. We'll get this smoother in so I'm nowhere near as organised as the Distant Worlds 2 expedition because it's kind of just me. But yeah, it'll be good. It'll be good. We have fun. That's the main thing. So where's everybody? They're all forming up. Look, there's a colourful array of ships all building up behind me, which is excellent to see. There we go. Let's turn the hull off. So everybody line up behind my ship. At 21. Sort of in a couple of minutes, get you to charge your hyperspace drive so you're ready to rock, and then throttle up from that point forward. So there we go. Look, the fleet is assembling. We like this. This is very good. There we go. Right. So we are 2.5 minutes away from the jump. I like this bit. It feels like Battlestar Galactica, this bit. Plotting a hyperspace jump. Very, very cool. Yeah, so the mass jump is just it's a traditional way to round off the streams now when we're doing these kind of things. It's just a very cool way of doing it. So basically everyone jumps to the same destination and it gives you a nice sort of Star Wars-y Battlestar Galactica kind of hyperspace jump, which is very, very cool. Although I must admit, my favourite, while I'm just on the subject of hyperspace jump, my favourite hyperspace jump effect is actually the one out of Dark Matter. Who's seen that on Amazon Prime? The way that sort of ship sort of faxes itself into real space. I rather like that. That's quite cool. Right, so 1 minute 30 seconds. So at 20:59, I'll put it in the chat in case there's a lag on the stream. 20:59, charge drives. Okay. There we go. So 20:59, charge the hyperspace drives and honk. Yeah, let's do a honk. Why not? Let's have some honking as well. Okay, so right, so here we go. Charge your drives, ladies and gentlemen. Start your engines. Charge your drives. Okay. Charge your drives. So I wonder if I can see that actually in the. I can see all the heat veins. Okay, there we go. I can always hear that. Somebody's honking. Right, so okay, so 30 seconds to jump. Everybody jump in 21 exactly. Okay, frame shift drives are activated. Should be getting all those sort of things. Right, okay, you've got 20 seconds. I would love to ride back in the Absolution. I'd really appreciate a ride back to the bubble. That'd be very handy at the end of this. Okay, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Engage jump. There goes everybody. Right, I'm going to full throttle to keep up with them. Not going to change my jump drive. There we go. There's a few more still going. I can see at least one other ship. Looks very cool. Boom. I'm going to charge my hyperspace drive. Yeah, everyone's gone now. There we go. Boom. That's the last ship, so I'm the last one to go. Brilliant. Well done. I would really appreciate the ride back in the Absolution. So definitely that would be awesome. Thank you very much. So we are heading to. Okay, we are heading to. This is the system. We are heading here for next week's expedition. Rendezvous point is AFOTS BP -ID9-35. That's where we're going to be next week. So meet us there. That is the entrance. That is the entrance to the Formidine Rift. So get your ship out there, either by fleet carrier or by flying it directly. Don't forget to honk on the way and do some exploration. The Heart and Soul Nebula marks the entrance to the Formidine Rift. The two great nebulas mark the entrance, so we've got to fly through there. And there's some things to dig around in over there. So we'll play. We'll do a little bit of exploration while we're there and revisit a few bits of the entry to the Formidine Rift. So that's going to be quite good fun. So. Thank you very much once again for your company this evening. Really appreciate you popping along. Hope you're enjoying the extended tour out into the darkness and a bit of exploration, fun and games on the side. Company is absolutely brilliant, so fantastic part of the Elite Dangerous community. Well, I really appreciate you guys coming along and having fun. So look after yourselves, look after your ship. I'm probably back with a bit of Stellaris tomorrow. Saturday I continue my quest for the last ZX Spectrum mission in the original Elite. There'll probably be a bit more keyboarding in there as well, and we'll see how it goes. But for now, thank you very much, and we will see you for more Lore Tour expedition to the Formidine Rift this time next week. Be good, and right on Commanders, of course, and 07. That'll be awesome. So, and yeah, check out all the fleet carriers. There are a lot around here, and it's really useful to have a really good base. So thank you very much to all the fleet carrier owners for indulging us jumping in and out and using all the tritium up. I do appreciate that as well. It's been fantastic. Thank you very much. But for now, take care, my friends. See you soon in the black, and fly safe. And if you can't fly safe, fly dangerous. See you soon.